Welcome to episode 1 of Popdarts Academy. In today's episode, we're talking basic Pop Darts strategy. If you're like me, you like to win, so today I'm gonna give you my top strategies on how to win more games. So at this point, hopefully all of you have checked out our throwing tutorial videos and you have your throw down. So now it's just about figuring out the strategy of the game and giving yourself the best chance to win more games. If you guys haven't seen our throwing tutorial yet, make sure you watch that, get your throw down. That video will be linked below. But if you have seen it and you're ready to learn some strategy, this video is perfect for you. It wasn't until a few months of playing until I realized how much strategy is actually involved in Pop Darts. And since then, I've played thousands of games, which allows me to kind of know what to do in certain situations. So let's get into it with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is that you have to realize there's a huge advantage to throwing first. There's several ways of deciding who goes first. We usually just do rock, paper, scissors, so it's kind of chance. But once you have that first throw, you want to keep it for as long as possible. If you guys didn't know, whoever scores points in that round goes first in the next round. Going first allows you to have no obstacles in the way. You have first dibs at getting in the best position possible to give you the best chance at winning. And that brings us to tip number 2, which I think is the biggest and most important one. So this is what we call position A. Position A is when you land directly in front of the target. And what happens here is it limits where your opponent can throw and get closer to you. So if you land it right in front of the target, they're gonna have to go around it and make a super hard shot in order to get closer than your dart. So as close as you can get in that position A, which is right in front of the target marker, the better. So if you're touching it, that's the best first throw you can have, maybe besides a T-knobber. The purpose of this is to block their view and also just put up an obstacle that they have to get around. So even if you're back a little way, still good. They still have to go over it in order to land their dart closer than yours. Tip number 3 builds off landing that first dart in position A. So once you have a good first dart or a good close dart, the next dart you want to throw is a blocker. So say you did land in position A right in front of the target marker. Your next throws are going to want to be to the right or the left of the target marker. So then you're blocking even more space that your opponent's going to have to throw over. What I like to do in this scenario, if your opponent's throwing from the left side, then land on the left side of the target. If they're throwing from the right side, then land on the right. So this is another example of where you need to have strategy and you need to think about your throws. If your position A dart is super close to the target marker and you can't see your opponent getting closer, then maybe you don't worry about blockers, but this is for the scenario where you're playing against somebody really good, or maybe you're not that close to the target, but you still think that dart has a good chance of securing you the closest dart to the target. That's when you go throw some blockers, build a wall, make it hard for them to get closer than that dart. And that brings us into tip number 4, which is what do I do when my opponent has a great position and they're really close to the target marker? So this is another scenario that requires some thinking. There's some factors that come into play. How good are you? What's the score? How good's your opponent? And so on. So when your opponent has a great position A dart or just a great dart that's really close to the target marker, you basically have a couple options. If there's enough room or you think you could land it close to the target, go ahead and rip that. But if they're really close and it's a close game, the odds are you're not gonna beat it. You're gonna either hit their dart or hit off the base of the target, and that dart's not gonna count for anything. The name of the game here is to land as many darts as possible and minimize how many points your opponent is gonna score. I would go throw all safe darts, so land all 3 and minimize the damage. Or you could go for a tower shot, try to land that 5-pointer. It's risky, you're probably gonna miss, but if you hit it, then you could save the round. In those types of scenarios, you gotta weigh out what the score is. If you're down bad, maybe go for the tower because you can't risk losing any more points. If it's really close and you both have a lot of points, maybe just land them and stay in it. That's really up to you, but those are the type of things you gotta think about if you're trying to win. Tip number 5 is no matter what is happening, in every round, you wanna try to land as many darts as possible, preferably all 3 every single round. When you do this, it makes it really hard for your opponent to get a big round that gives them a big lead. So even if your opponent is landing darts closer than yours, you're still buying yourself time to get locked in and start landing closer. As long as they don't have a trick shot, a lippy, T-knobber, tower shot, and they just have a close dart and you land all 3, worst case scenario, they're only getting 2 points. So if you did that every round, they would have to win 11 rounds in a game to beat you, and that's really challenging. So when you're just trying to land a dart, you're not trying to get it close, you're not trying to land a trick shot, That's what we call a safe dart. So whether you're really close and you don't want to risk knocking it off the tower or off the target, just land it where there's the most open space. That's a guaranteed point, and guaranteed points are very important if you're trying to win. And then my sixth and final tip is when to go for trick shots like the T-knobber that's worth 10 and the tower shot that's worth 5. When you've played this game as much as I have and you get really accurate, you're gonna learn you can't go for a T-knobber every single time. When you do that, you're gonna have a lot of darts that hit off the base of the target, off the top, and it's just gonna be hard to get points. My personal opinion, a T-knobber should be used when necessary. So if the game is just starting, it's 0-0, you wanna jump ahead and get a huge lead, go for some T-knobbers. If you start falling behind, then you're gonna wanna intentionally miss the T-knobber and you're gonna wanna land right in front, right beside, as close as you can. That's a huge part of the next level of pop darts. Once you get really good, you're gonna have to start aiming a centimeter away from the target instead of just aiming directly at the target every time. A couple scenarios where you should go for a trick shot is if you're down by a lot. Start going for some T-knobbers. That'll give you a great chance of getting back in the game and turning it around. Another good time to go for a T-knobber or a tower shot is when you know you have the closest dart secured. You already know you're getting points on the round, so you have an opportunity to go ahead and hit that 10-point or 5-point shot. That's really defeating for your opponent. Those big rounds are what really wins you games. So like I said, guys, those are my personal tips. I've played thousands of games of pop darts over the last 3 years, so I feel like I've learned how to win. That said, there are plenty of different strategies. I've played a lot of good people who have different thinking. So let me know if you have any other strategies that work better for you. If you disagree with any of my strategies, we're gonna be continuing this series of pop darts strategy. So if this was too basic for you or too advanced, let us know in the comments and the next video will adjust. And the goal here is just to help people understand the strategy of this game. There's a lot that goes into it. It might seem simple, but once you start getting competitive, you're gonna wanna know the strategy. You're gonna wanna win more games. So follow along. Make sure you guys subscribe. We post every Saturday morning. If you guys could drop a comment, let me know what Popdarts Academy video you want next. What would help you the most in your pop darts journey? Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.